Chains can't hold a soul, the most powerful story of freedom. You've never heard, he was an outcast, bound in chains, living among the tombs. But I spoke a single word and showed them that a soul in chains can be set free. The sun was a familiar friend, a golden blanket spreading over the hills of Galilee. My days were a rhythm of teaching and walking, a constant flow of humanity pressing in around me. The air was thick with the scent of dust and the murmur of voices, the eager, the questioning, the desperate. My disciples, a motley crew of fishermen, tax collectors, and zealots, followed in my wake, their faces a mix of wonder and weariness. For them, this was a strange but in many ways an ordinary life. We would teach by the shore, break bread in dusty villages, and find quiet moments to discuss the Father's kingdom. There were sick to heal, parables to tell, and the simple joy of watching people's eyes light up as they understood a new truth. The rhythm was predictable, comforting. We were on home ground, surrounded by people who spoke our tongue and knew our customs. This, we thought, was the way it would always be. A ministry of light gently spreading across familiar terrain. The scent of fresh-baked bread from a village oven, the feel of a child's small hand in mine. These were the small blessings that filled our days. We were a community on the move, but our journey was rooted in the simple act of presence, of seeing and being seen. There was a gentle power in sharing a meal, in washing the feet of a weary traveler, in just being there for one another. My miracles were not for show, but for the restoration of life, stitching together what was broken with a quiet thread of grace. My followers were learning to see the kingdom in the everyday, to find the sacred in the mundane. Yet I knew we could not stay in one place forever. The call to go beyond the familiar was always present, a quiet pull on my spirit. One evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, I turned to my disciples. "Let's cross to the other side of the lake," I said. It seemed a simple enough request. We boarded the boat, tired from the day's work, and settled in. The initial crossing was calm, the water a dark mirror reflecting the first stars. But as we moved into the deep, the tranquility shattered. The sky turned a bruised purple, and a fierce wind erupted out of nowhere, whipping the waves into a frenzy. Water poured over the sides of the boat, threatening to swallow us whole. My disciples, seasoned sailors, were terrified. Their ordinary life, the calm they had known, cracked open. In the midst of the chaos, they cried out to me, "Master, don't you care if we drown?" They saw me, but they did not yet fully grasp who I was. Their faith was a small boat on a stormy sea, and the fear of the moment was the crushing wave. The sky had been so clear, so calm just moments before, a deceptive peace that hid the storm's fury. A single gust of wind was all it took to turn the mirror of the water into a churning chaos of spray and roar. My disciples, who had weathered countless squalls on this very lake, were pale with fear, their faces twisted in disbelief at the storm's supernatural force. They bailed water in a panic, their familiar world suddenly alien and hostile, their ordinary skills rendered useless. And as they screamed, I rested, my peace a stark contrast to their terror, a profound lesson in itself. We made it to the other shore, to the region of the Gerasenes, in the early morning light. The storm had passed, but the tension lingered in the air. As soon as my feet touched the ground, the peace was broken once more. A man who had been living among the tombs came running toward us. He was a terrifying sight, unclothed, his body gaunt and bruised, his hair and beard matted with dirt. They had tried to contain him with chains, but he had torn them apart, his strength unnatural. He lived in the burial caves, a constant torment to the community, a living monument to what was broken and beyond human help. The sight of him made my disciples recoil. They had faced a storm of water, but this was a storm of a different kind, a raging hurricane of the spirit, a soul completely shattered and consumed by something not of this world. He did not ask for help. He screamed a challenge. "What do you want with me, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, don't torture me." The sound of his voice echoed from the rocky tombs, a guttural shriek that was not of a man but of a cage of animals in torment. My disciples froze, their bodies tensing, their hands going instinctively to whatever was nearby for protection. They had never seen such complete spiritual desolation, a living death in a man's eyes that was more terrifying than any physical illness. He lunged toward us, but something in him held back, a spiritual leash that he or they could not cross. He was a walking contradiction, a man made to love yet consumed by hate, a body built for freedom, yet a prison for countless unseen entities. The man's voice was not his own. It was a chorus of voices, a name whispered in my ears from an unseen realm. "My name is Legion," the voice thundered, "for we are many." The weight of so many spirits, so much darkness was palpable. But where my disciples saw terror, I saw a soul in chains. I was not there to speak to the man's tormentors, but to the man's heart, though it was buried deep beneath layers of pain and possession. My word was the key to his prison. I did not raise my voice, I did not shout a command. I spoke with the quiet authority of the one who had made all things. I gave the demons permission to enter a large herd of pigs grazing nearby. The shift was instant and dramatic. The demons, unable to resist my command, left the man and rushed into the animals. The pigs, over 2,000 of them, screamed and stampeded down the steep bank, plunging into the lake and drowning. The silent, invisible war was over. The man was finally free. The name Legion was not a boast, but a plea, a cry from a cacophony of lost souls trapped in a single vessel. My word, a simple declarative command, was all that was needed to unravel the years of bondage and terror. The demons' frantic negotiations were like the final pathetic pleas of a captured enemy, desperate to avoid the inevitable. And then the sudden silence. The man's body slumped, the rigid tension leaving him, a sigh of peace escaping his lips. The panicked cries of the pigs and their suicidal plunge into the sea were the physical manifestation of a spiritual victory that had just been won. The townspeople, who had been watching from a distance, came running to see what had happened. They found the man they had known only as a beast, the one who could not be tamed, sitting calmly at my feet, clothed and in his right mind. But instead of rejoicing, a profound fear came over them. They were more comfortable with the broken man and his familiar chaos than with the new, terrifying power that had brought him peace. They saw their pigs gone, their economy damaged, and they asked me to leave their region. They preferred their chains to the freedom I offered. As I prepared to go, the man I had healed begged to come with me. But his purpose was not to follow me to Galilee. His purpose was to remain. "Go home to your people," I told him, "and tell them all that the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." His healing was not just for him. It was a beacon for his community, a living testimony that even the most hopeless could be redeemed. The townspeople's fear was not just of me, but of the disruption to their orderly, predictable world. A world where the demoniacs stayed in the tombs and they stayed in the town. They valued their possessions over a human soul, their comfort over a miracle, their predictable chains over the unpredictable nature of my kingdom. And the man, now free, saw this. He understood that his place was no longer in the tombs, but among those who had rejected him. His was a mission of love and a gentle confrontation with their fear, a living reminder of the grace they had just refused. I did not ask him to come with me because his story was not for me to carry, but for him to tell to those who knew him best. The man's obedience was immediate and powerful. He didn't hesitate. He went on his way and began to proclaim throughout the Decapolis, a region of 10 cities, all that I had done for him. His story spread like wildfire, a living, breathing sermon that transcended language and culture. He became the first true missionary to that Gentile region, a walking testament to my power and grace. Years later, when I returned to that side of the lake, I was greeted not with fear and rejection, but with a great crowd. The soil had been tilled. The seeds of his story had grown into a harvest of open hearts. He had done what my own disciples could not have done at that time. He had prepared a path for me where there was none before. His liberation was not just a one-time event. It was a ripple that changed a region forever, proving that a soul, no matter how broken, can be set free and become a living vessel for the Father's love. His story became the fertile soil, the seed planted in the unforgiving ground of Gerasene skepticism and fear. He was more than just a convert. He was a living bridge, connecting my ministry to a region that would have otherwise remained closed off. When I returned, the crowd was a testament to his faithfulness, to the quiet power of one man's healed life. He had proven that the greatest miracles are not just in the healing, but in the purpose that comes after. His freedom was my legacy there, a soul set free to set others free by the simple act of telling the truth. This incredible story reminds us that even when we feel completely bound, there is a power that can set us free. We believe this message of hope is too important to keep to ourselves. If you found encouragement in this story, please show your support by hitting the like button. Your simple click helps us reach more people who might be struggling in their own unseen chains. The narrative of the man from Gadara is a powerful reminder that there is a purpose for our pain and a plan for our freedom. What part of his story resonated most with you? Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Your perspective adds to the conversation and helps build a community of hope for everyone who is searching for it. Don't miss out on future stories that have the power to transform lives. By subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell, you ensure you'll be the first to know when we share a new message of hope and freedom. If you know someone who needs to hear this today, please share this video with them. You could be the one to help them find their way out of the darkness and into the light.